Well, obviously a big game tomorrow. Really liked the way that we played at Wyoming, especially with the lack of making shots in the first half. Responded great coming out of halftime. I thought played terrific the last 20 minutes and just found a way. So took the next day off and gave ourselves 2 days of practice. Had a good one yesterday and ready to go for tomorrow. It's going to be an awesome opportunity.
I know you as a coach have seen it enough that you understand you have halves like that sometimes, maybe not quite that bad shooting-wise, but you have halves like that you can put behind you. Did it do anything, though, to see San Diego State, frankly, do the same thing against Air Force for 10 minutes, maybe not a whole half, but down 20-8 to the last-place Air Force team on their home court? They essentially did what you guys did, which is come out of the gates really slow and then dominate the rest of the game. Does it help convince the players that, they're okay, to put that behind them?
We won a road game. I don't look at it in the lens of Twitter, and I make fun of you all the time on it, but there's so much outrage throughout the course of a game that pops up on my time. Obviously, I'm not checking Twitter, but I'm looking at it and I'm going, did we win the game or not? So I love that people have interest in it, but I always try to take a deep breath and take a step back and evaluate the whole game, because you get asked it a lot, like, were you happy with the start, not happy with the finish, all those things. I just try to look at the whole game. I didn't think we were playing poorly. We just were not making shots. We're 5-0, so it's not much to complain about. I love the response. Every game that you play is going to be challenging. And then after 40 minutes, you evaluate it. It wasn't what I said at halftime. It was just, okay, we got a deep breath. All right, we didn't play great in the first half. But you play 40 minutes, so every game is different. Air Force can do that to you. They can, and San Diego State responded obviously in a great way.
This may fall under more Twitter outrage, but he did have a bad game. A lot of people have been hammering on Mustafa Mzil's performance lately, and he did have an 0-for-7 game. What do you need to do to get through to a guy who is your second leading scorer, second leading rebounder? The season hasn't been bad, but he has been struggling lately. Anything you can do to sort of help him get out of his funk?
Well, I don't know. I don't remember what he did versus Nevada, so I can't. I know he didn't play well last game. He's been playing basketball long enough where I know he can get out of it. He knows that he's going to have great opportunities the next game. He didn't make shots. He had open looks. What the reason was, I do not know. But we just tell him to stay confident. So. It's not like one of those deals where I'm going to bench him. I thought Jovan was ready to go, made a huge shot, played really good defense at the end there. But that's what being a part of a team's all about. So other than the normal stuff, just stay confident. As long as you're taking good shots, I prefer you make them, but stay confident. Don't have bad body language when you miss a shot. Some guys tend to do that, like, oh, the weight of the world's on my shoulders. Like, no. My message to the guys at halftime was nobody's going to save you. Like, you got to figure it out. And they did. And Mustafa will figure it out.
And then the San Diego State team that you guys are about to play had as much roster turnover this past offseason as anybody in the league. Miles Bird's really their only regular returner, and he was off the bench last year. So how much of this is just same old San Diego State, and how much are they doing a little different? They seem to shoot maybe a few more threes.
Yeah, probably shoot more threes. I think was Bird and Heidi were the two kind of major guys. Heidi comes off the bench. The defense is still phenomenal. They're long block shots, one of the best in the country at that. Their defensive numbers are absolutely ridiculous. Bird is terrific. So everybody kind of predicted their demise when they lost some players in the portal. And they're right back where they've always been, So going to be a challenge. It's been, and this is a compliment to them, but it's been pretty consistent every time I've played them of what the keys and what's important are, and that just shows you they got a great program.
I want to ask you a little bit more about Mustafa, because you mentioned in the postgame with Rob and Hunter that his confidence is down a little bit. I know that, like Philip earlier in the season, he had some confidence issues, and you mentioned how Dave kind of got in his ear a little bit and helped him out with that, but how do you get a kid's confidence up when he's a guy like he struggled last year and then he turned it around? But how do you get a kid's confidence?
Again, it's kind of the same thing. Like you make it about the effort plays. Like that was the one game I thought Mustafa just defensively wasn't all there. Rebounding the ball, had a turnover, a couple I don't remember how many he had, but like you make it more about that. So it's never one talk. Maybe that alleviates some stress in the moment, but like we just try to be very, very consistent with our approach, and we don't celebrate made shots. Now we really welcome those, but at the end of the day, like our value is not on what you shot from the field, but showing confidence, having great body language, all those things. So how do you get a guy confident? You do it by working. You don't do it by BS, filling their head with nonsense. Like that's just a temporary crutch. Put in the work. Put in the work every day and remind them that, hey, you're putting in the work so that you'll be ready for that moment.
Coach, are you surprised at the success you've had up to this point with losing House, Washington, Mashburn, and JT Toppin? You've had a pretty good year with new players you brought in. And are you surprised by the bench increasing in its role?
Well, we've lost a lot of players, very important players. The, I guess, beauty of this whole thing is everybody's going to lose a lot of players. So, like, you're not playing against a lot of teams anymore that have a million guys back. You can look at every team. Colorado State, I don't know if they got crushed in the portal. They got more crushed in graduation. Fresno's got a new coach, a million new players. Nevada's got some key pieces back, but they graduated Lucas and Blackshear and some of those guys. So everybody's starting over every year, part of the deal. But am I proud of the fact that it's the best start in the history of the Mountain West for the Lobos? Hell yeah, I am. I'm very proud of it. But, we still got a long, long season to go. And, we try to celebrate things like, you're going to have another sellout tomorrow. I remember when we first got here, they hadn't sold out in 10 years or whatever it was. And now it's becoming a routine. And, that's just building what's been a phenomenal situation and getting back to that. So I don't know, the season's not over, so I can't say if I'm surprised or not. I'm happy with the progress of where we're at right now.
I want to ask you about home court advantage because I think it's 4, maybe 5 teams in the Mountain West are still undefeated on the road. Is home court advantage kind of overrated this season in the Mountain West, and why is that?
Some people argue that it's overrated over the last couple of years for whatever the reasons are. I don't really know. I know that every job has advantages, disadvantages, and this building is an advantage. And it doesn't mean we're always going to win. It doesn't mean that we can play the wrong way and win. We got to focus on the right things, although we appreciate sellouts and those things. Like, those are great. Like, our focus has got to be on the court. So every place is different. When you play them, that's a big one. What time of year you play them. Things like that. Are students gone? Are they on break? I've often thought many a times, I think college basketball would be so much better if it started in a week or two. Let football do their deal, and then second semester hits, everybody's back, and we focus on college basketball. I think it would be so much better. There wouldn't be as many empty buildings and all those things. So I don't think home court advantage is overrated. I know it's very, very important to our program.
You mentioned those keys against San Diego State remaining consistent. Just curious for you to expand on what you think is most important tomorrow.
There's not one thing. They're elite defensively. So if you play poor offensively, it's going to allow them to get out on the break. And they're athletic and they're fast and all of those things. You've got to guard them, because if you guard them and you rebound, you're going to give yourself a chance to get out on the break and play against a non-set defense. If you play against a set defense, meaning you're playing poor defense, and you have to go against their set defense, that's a problem. So you've got to finish possessions. You've got to rebound the basketball. I look at the St. John's as kind of a game as a similar game, and we did not do well rebounding the basketball. It was a 4-point game. We gave up an offensive rebound. They hit a 3 in front of their bench. I think we gave up 22 offensive rebounds that game. So, if we're not ready to learn from the St. John's game, we got no shot tomorrow because that's how tough and physical they are. So, we got to be ready to go. Last 3 games have been grinders, and that's okay. This one may be a little bit like that as well. But we just got to finish possessions on the defensive side of it.
You kind of touched on it, just with, the excitement that goes into a game like tomorrow. Like, you stripe out, early start, national TV, all that stuff. You have to kind of prepare your guys a little bit different for a game that might be more to the fans compared to you guys versus a normal game.
Well, fortunately, this is becoming a bit of a norm to get great crowds and to, New Mexico State was a sellout. Nevada was very, very close to a sellout. This one will be a sellout. So, humbly speaking, I'm proud of the program that we've built to where this is becoming part of the deal to play here. So you don't make it a bigger deal than it is. The national TV thing is cool, but a lot of our games are on TV. It's going to be great to see Coach Raftery. I've known him my whole life. But, it's great exposure for your university, I think, and the state of New Mexico. I think this program, besides trying to win and compete for championships, it just does so much for the community. And it does so much for the state of New Mexico and the university nationally. But as for the basketball part of it, you try to not to make it a bigger deal than it is.
All right, well, now I got to, because you just mentioned Raftery. You've known him your whole life. I'm curious, do you have any specific memories of that you can share?
Well, I mean, he was really close to my uncle who passed away in 9/11. He has been the same his whole life. I've never met a guy who's just about others more than him. I mean, I get several calls a year, and I'm like, you're on the East Coast, and he'll call me after a game and just congratulate me. He doesn't need to do that. Leave me a voicemail. Has an amazing heart. He'll call you, you want to get a drink, tonight? I'm like, Coach, I get a game at 11 a.m. tomorrow. I'm not going to be out on the town. That's ever stopped him before. It's like we've always said, is we keep getting force-fed that football is king, and I love football, but you got ambassadors like Bill Raftery who are they promote this amazing game. So as genuine a good person as I have ever been around, and a guy who's got, 40 years on me that could outdrink me any day of the week.
Any of those voicemails ever just onions?
Yeah, no, I mean, but his voice is very, very distinct, so you know right away when he's calling you. So he's a special guy.
All right, the basketball question I was going to ask is Dutch has been pretty consistent with this from preseason media day when he said the same thing to me, that what he likes so much about this Lobo team is you guys are as good up the middle as anybody maybe in the country, and what he means is by point guard and center. The 1 and the 5 with Nelly and Donnie. And that, he said again yesterday at his media availability in San Diego, that stopping that high the ball screen and basically the pick and roll that Nelly and Donovan do is the key to stopping you guys. So there's a lot that they will go into that. It's sort of what you said Wednesday too. Teams are focusing on stopping Donnie. How are you guys now adapting to teams in San Diego State? It's the best defensive team you faced maybe. They're really going to key in on stopping Donovan and that pick and roll.
Yeah, the other guys have got to be willing to make some shots. I think one of the reasons why Phillip played well last game was Donovan, Donovan was willing to get rid of it. Everybody, they're just sitting in the gaps. And guys got to make more shots. And Donovan's got to be willing to make the boring pass like he did with Phillip several times. Because if everybody's just going to sit in the lane on him, you got to make him pay. So that's why I didn't think we played as poorly versus Wyoming in the first half as everybody thinks. I know the score was indicative of that, but guys just got to make shots if they're going to continue to guard us like that. I think Nevada did the same thing. Donovan's always going to find guys. But the pick and roll, it's 5 guys really connected, not just Nelly and Donnie. So the other 3 guys got to make them pay.
I'm just expecting a great crowd. Just like when I first came here, everybody told me how the crowd was, and I thank the crowd for keep coming back after that New Mexico State loss. But I'm just excited and expecting to have a good game.
One thing Brian Dutcher, their coach, has said, and in teams, you guys know it, have started to do is you got to take the pick and roll and the high ball screen away from Donovan, right? and asking Coach Pitino a little bit about that. He said it's not so much Nelly and Donnie at this point; it's the other three guys
Yep.
that have got to make them pay.
Yep.
What are you guys doing to? Is it just about making yourself available,
Yeah.
shot ready, or what? What do you guys need to do to help Donnie
Yeah.
when they're coming at him?
Yeah, we need to be available for Donnie, be his outlet, be that person to, get that catch for him if Nelly's not open. And then what we're doing in practice, keeping the confidence up, shooting a lot, making a lot of threes, and, just talking to one another, keeping each other's confidence and spirits high.
Just want to bring it back to the environment here. Is it something where when you're playing, you're so locked in that you don't notice, or can you tell a tangible difference? Like, it's a sold-out game at the Pit, nationally televised versus like a midweek stage.
Oh yeah, for sure. You could definitely tell the difference. It's crazy just to be up in the locker room and hearing the fans out there, and then walking down this ramp right here, and then walking down that ramp, of course. So I mean, it's definitely a difference.
CJ, there are places in this league where it's playing in an empty arena. You have Air Force, you have Wyoming, Fresno State, and then there's Viejas,
Yeah.
there's the Spectrum, there's the Pit. Is it harder to play in places like Wyoming as opposed to like here where you walk down there, everyone's amped and ready to go?
Yeah, there's definitely some difficulty just, playing in a dead gym. I think every basketball player would say they would rather a packed out gym, a sold out gym. But I mean, ultimately, you got to create your own energy there in places like that. So, I mean, it could go either way, but you always want it to go the right way for sure in an empty arena.
You guys have won in a ton of different ways this year. You've had exciting wins. You've had, for lack of a better term, ugly wins. So, I mean, when you guys are out there on the floor, can you feel kind of just we got to do this to win on this specific game, or how are you guys adjusting?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we always group and huddle each other and always say let's just get the win, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to help us. All of us. Sure.
You guys seem to have had kind of a different person step up regularly. Jovan was the guy that played really well recently, or on Tuesday. I'm curious when you see the younger guys kind of building up to a good game like that. Cade's had a couple of them.
Yeah.
What do you as a senior think of when you see the freshmen doing what they've done a couple times?
Well, of course, I'm proud of them. I mean, it's not hard to go out there as a freshman and do what they're doing, and just keep them doing that. I mean, keep them spirits high, keep them in the right mind. Really, I mean, it's a long season. There's a lot of ups and downs. I mean, I would say for me personally, watching them has been a pleasure, because I mean, they came in the summer, watched them get better, watched them, adjust to the college speed and, the college pace. So it's been really fun, for sure. Man, too much of that.
So tell me about the team. You're in the locker room. Are they pretty stoked? Obviously, you're on national TV.
Yeah.
You're playing at home. You got family watching in Texas or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What the general feeling on the team is?
It's just super excitement. I mean, because it's the next game, obviously. But I think that, another sold-out crowd here is what we want, and that's what we want to go out there and play for. So we're all super excited for this opportunity.
Hey, guys. Yeah, time for one more?
Yeah. I think I asked Coach this too, but I think there's 4, maybe 5 teams that are still undefeated in this conference on the road. Why is winning on the road easy this year?
I'm not sure that it's easy, but I've seen that trend too as well, for sure.